Okay, it looks like we're at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and get started out of respect for everyone's time. Welcome to all of those of you who are taking time out of your Thanksgiving week Tuesday morning to meet with us today. My name is Hillary Crawford, and I am the grants manager at COCA. I have with me today from the COCA team, Kathleen Spihar, our executive director, and Erica Thaler, who is our marketing and communications director. Erica's going to be monitoring questions through our Facebook page, and Kathleen's going to be helping me out with questions through the Q&A panel. On your Zoom panel, there's a Q&A section. We are going to have a Q&A at the end, but you can go ahead and enter those questions, or if you prefer at the end, Keith will take time to answer your questions. You can raise your hand if you would like to ask him directly at the end. I'm so excited to have Keith Bowers with us today. Keith works at the FAMU Small Business Development Association, and Keith has worked with COCA in the past. We had a workshop with Domi Station about the SFOG opportunity that was applicable to some of our grantees, and we were so grateful for his input, and he's just been working really hard in the community and making sure that people are aware of the opportunities that are available. We wanted to make sure that we shared this opportunity with you all because it is, although it is a loan program, there is the opportunity for some nonprofits to almost have it like a grant and have that loan forgiven. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Keith, and let me just switch my screen share. I've lost my controls. They've disappeared. I'm going to try it another way. Well, that is interesting. Okay, one second. Okay, found them. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to turn it over to Keith.
Okay. So let me get mine open here.
Did you lose your meeting controls too?
I think so.
What I had to do was go down to the Zoom icon, and there was a separate window for the meeting controls.
Okay. Let's see. What do you guys see now?
I see you, but I see you need to minimize, I think, the pictures of us.
Okay.
Keith, this is Kathleen. I have this on full screen, and I can see the SBA economic injury disaster. I can see this loan. I can see the whole.
Oh, she's right. I apologize.
Whole yep. Screen. So you're good. It looks great.
You see the full screen? Okay, perfect.
Yes, sir.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Hillary and Kathleen, for setting this up. And it's a pleasure, always a pleasure to work with the good people at COCA. And as Hillary mentioned, my name is Keith Bowers. I'm the Regional Director at the Small Business Development Center here at Florida A&M University. And today we are going to talk about the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program and how you can apply, and we'll go over some details about the program. But I think the most important thing that we should mention at the top of this discussion is that the time is running out. The deadline for the application is December 31st, and we'll talk about that in a little bit later on. But we just want to make sure everyone's aware of the approaching deadline, because this program is still being funded by SBA, and we have seen it do tremendous good for our clients that have received it. So with that, we'll hop right into it. I'll give you a brief overview of, let me get my slides going here. So real quick on the what we provide here at the Small Business Development Center. We are funded by SBA and the Florida Legislature, and we provide consulting services and technical assistance for small business owners and entrepreneurs. We cover an 8-county region. We go as far west as Liberty County and as far east as Madison and Taylor County. All of our services are provided at no cost. And we deliver these services through certified business consultants. So here's just a listing of some of the services that we provide for emerging businesses, and a listing of some of the services that we provide for seasoned businesses. And these are businesses or nonprofit organizations that have been in existence for at least 3 years. But one thing that I want to let you know is everything we do here at the Small Business Development Center is customized according to your needs. So beyond the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, if you find that you need some assistance from the Small Business Development Center, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to help you. All right, so let's jump into it. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. Well, this program came out right at the right soon after COVID really began to devastate our economy, especially with small businesses. The program was designed to provide assistance to businesses and nonprofit organizations that had suffered economic impact because of COVID. Basically, everyone was locked down for a year and a half before things began to open up. And SBA realized early on that small businesses could not survive without having people support their businesses. They just didn't have the resources or the wherewithal to make it. So they designed the Economic Injury Disaster Loan to assist folks with some very, very accessible borrower-friendly capital. So the folks that the program is targeted towards are small business owners, including any type of agricultural businesses and nonprofit organizations. These, in order to be eligible, your business has to be located in the United States or Washington, D.C. and the territories. And all of these funds have been made available. And I forgot the total dollar amount, but it is, I think it was somewhere in the, I think $30 billion.
Yeah, that's right, I think.
That was identified for economic injury disaster loans. So the details for the loan program. The most important thing is to remember is that the SBA they're making these loans directly to the small businesses. You don't have to go through a participating lender. You log into the website and you apply directly to SBA for the loan. The maximum loan amount is $2 million. The loan term is 30 years, so you'd have 30 years to repay. If you are a for-profit business, the interest rate is a 3.75% fixed rate for 30 years. If you're a not-for-profit organization, the interest rate is a fixed rate of 2.75% for 30 years. And also, the first 2 years of payments are deferred. So you wouldn't have to make any repayment towards the economic injury disaster loan for 2 years. Now, interest does accrue during that 2-year period. And then when you start making payments year 2, the interest that has accrued is tacked on to that amount, and then you start making payments over a 28-year period. But it's very, very flexible in terms of your ability to if you want to pay it off early, there's no prepayment penalties. If you want to pay more than the stated principal amount, you can pay that. And then when you look at the interest rates, it's just very, very, very low interest rates for a fixed rate for 30 years. So this is a very good program And again, there's still money available for you to access through this program. So the requirements for the SBA does require collateral for loans larger than $25,000. So that could be in the form of equipment, furniture, and fixtures. If you have any real estate, any collateral that you may offer, it is required for loans larger than $25,000. And for loans over $200,000, they will require that you personally guarantee the loan. Now, if it's under $200,000, there is no requirement for a personal guarantee. The use of funds, SBA has made it very, very user-friendly as it relates to how the funds could be used. If you think back at the Paycheck Protection Program, those funds could only be used to cover payroll. And so this program is designed to help small businesses and nonprofit organizations, kind of shore up all of their expenses if necessary. So you can use the funds for working capital. You can use it for payroll, rent, mortgage, cover utilities, the payment of business debt that you incurred. So if you have an existing loan, you can use the funding from the EIDL to pay that existing loan. And it could be past, present, or future. So it doesn't have to be like something that was just incurred. It could be loans that you had prior to the pandemic, or loans that you took out in the midst of the pandemic. So, it can be used for the repayment of business loans, except for federal debt. You can't use the economic injury disaster loan to pay off another SBA loan. But if it's conventional debt from a commercial lender, it could be used to pay that off. So eligibility. In order to be eligible to receive funding through the EIDL, you have to have less than 500 employees. You have to be a legally formed entity. So you could be an S corporation, a C corp, or a limited liability company. You can also be a sole proprietor with or without employees. So if you're just a sole proprietor yourself, you are the only person that's working in that business, you are still eligible. If you are an independent contractor or you receive a 1099 for work that you do for another company, you are eligible to apply for the EIDL loan. And nonprofit organizations are eligible as well. So if you are, if you go back and look at the eligibility for the organizations except for the nonprofit, all applicants must own at least 50% of the legal entity to apply. So the information that's required when you log on to the SBA website and you decide that you want to apply, that takes you through a number of different questions just to determine your eligibility. Certain things that they ask for, they want to make sure that you're not involved in any. One, they want to make sure that you aren't involved in any illegal activity. So there's certain businesses that are ineligible. So if you're involved in gambling, or if you derive income from anything that is sexual in nature, you're not eligible to apply. So there are some entities that are ineligible, but the required information after you walk through the application online, there's a checklist. And after you say yes or no to those questions, they start to ask more information about the financial operations of your business. So one thing that you have to put, that you need to be able to answer is, for 2019, what were your gross revenues and your cost of goods sold. And let's just say, for instance, you've got a consulting company. You're not going to have cost of goods sold. That's fine. You could just put 0 there. But they do want to know how much revenue you generated in 2019. Same goes for 2020. So they want to understand how much revenue was generated and what your cost of goods sold were for 2020. And then what happens is they basically, when you indicate what your gross revenues were for those 2 years, they add those together, and that becomes your maximum loan amount, because they want to make sure that you have your revenue, that your loan reflects what your revenue would have been for those 2 operating years. So let's just say, for instance, your gross revenue for 2019 was $150,000. And then for 2020, it was $100,000. So your maximum amount that you'd be eligible for would be $250,000. So that is how SBA determines the eligibility, based on these numbers. So it's very important that you have access to what your financial records indicate. You also need to understand what your industry code is. So there are 2 different classifications for industry. One is called the Standard Industry Code. The other one is the North American Industry Classification. So these are numbers that you can look up. SBA, when you apply, there is a button there. If you're unsure of what your NAICS code is, which most people aren't sure, you can click on that button and then type in a keyword. So you can type in visual artist, and it will tell you what that SIC code or NAICS code is, but you will need to have that information. So you can put that information in. And then they also want to know that the date that your business was established. So when did you actually start your company? And it could be the filing date when you filed for your, when you filed with the state to get incorporated or become a limited liability company, or when you decided on your own that you wanted to be a sole proprietor. But it's important to have this information. So the credit thresholds. This is a loan, and SBA will require a credit report. They'll pull the credit report themselves. So for loans less than $500,000, the minimum credit score is 570. For loans greater than $500,000, 625 is the minimum credit score. And also, credit reports are required on all principals that own more than 20% of the business. So if you got a business partner, you own 50% and she owns 50%, then both of you would have to provide, sign the application, and they're going to look at your credit, both credit reports. So additional paperwork required for loans greater than $500,000. The following documents will be required. You'd have to have a schedule of your liabilities. So, and these are your business liabilities. You have to have a schedule of your business liabilities. So who do you currently owe? They also will require that you complete a personal financial statement. And a personal financial statement is a statement that itemizes your assets and your liabilities. So that is going to be required for if you're applying for a loan in excess of $500,000. And they also want a listing of the real estate that you own personally. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the presentation, the application deadline is December 31st, 2021. So that's fast approaching. So I would, and that's for the EIDL loan. So I would make sure that if you haven't gone to the the site. If you're thinking about it, go to the site. You can take a look at a sample application on the site and make sure you have the information and determine if this is something that you want to move forward with. But I will strongly recommend that you do, because again, the interest rates and the terms are very, very friendly. And our clients have loved the flexibility and the freedom that this loan program has provided them. So now we will move on to the EIDL increase. So SBA came out after the initial round of economic injury disaster loans, and they had more money available. So they allowed businesses that have already applied and received the economic injury disaster loan an opportunity to go in and ask for an increase. So in order to do, if you've received the EIDL and you would like to have an increase to the loan, you can submit a loan modification through your SBA EIDL portal. So everything's done online. And when you apply for the EIDL, you'll be given, you'll have to give them a username. They basically set up an account with using your email address and a username and a password specifically for your file and your information. And you can go back through that portal and apply for an economic injury disaster loan increase. Do not apply for a new loan if you want the increase. So don't start the process over. Go back to your portal and apply for the increase using the loan modification. Now, we're going to spend a little time talking about the EIDL targeted advance. Now, SBA came out with an initiative that really focused on the hardest hit businesses and nonprofit organizations. So there's a certain listing of businesses that have been hit harder by the impact of COVID, and SBA has decided to provide an advance, and this is called a targeted advance because they're targeting businesses that are located in low-income areas. So eligible businesses, if you're located in a low-income area, eligible businesses can receive up to $15,000. Now, you must apply for the regular EIDL. There's not a separate application for the targeted advance. So you would have to apply for the regular EIDL, and then you'll get more information about the targeted advance. And SBA has a link to a map where you can just put in your address to see if you qualify for the targeted advance. And these funds do not have to be repaid. These funds act as a grant. So if you're eligible and you receive up to $15,000, those funds do not have to be repaid. So some qualifying details for the targeted advance: the business must prove more than a 50% economic loss. So your revenue has to be impacted by at least 50% in order to qualify. You cannot have more than 10 employees to qualify for the targeted advance. Now, if you get, let's say you're applying for the first time and you apply for the EIDL, and because you want the $15,000, you're not necessarily wanting the loan where you'd have to repay it back over 30 years. You just want the $15,000 grant. So you don't have to accept if you've been approved, you don't have to accept the loan to receive the targeted advance. You can just deny that or turn it down, let them know you don't want it, and you still be eligible for the target advance. And SBA will email you an invitation to apply for the advance if your business is located in a low income area. And I remember when this program first came out, I got calls from some of our clients that said, hey, I got an email from SBA telling me that I'm eligible for more money. Is this a fraud? Is this fake? Why would they be reaching out to me? And I tell them, no, it's not. This is part of the initiative, because one thing the SBA realized is that certain businesses have been hit harder than other businesses and didn't have the resources to recover as quickly. So they wanted to make sure that funds were available for those hardest hit businesses in low income areas. So SBA will send an invitation, an email for you to apply for the advance. So don't be surprised when you see that. Now, the application deadline for the targeted advance is actually December 10th. And in talking with our colleagues at SBA, they're saying that because of some technical language in the program, even though the economic injury disaster loan program ends, the deadline is December 31st, they cannot process any applications for the advance after December 10th. So, and the reason I'm stressing this, because if you haven't applied for the EIDL and you're interested in the advance, you need to apply by December 10th. If you're not interested in the advance, then you've got the application deadline of December 31st. So there's the program updates and an overview. And at this time, I open the floor for questions, and I'll leave my information up there for just a little while. If you want to contact me directly, you can do so at 599-3407. My email address is keith.bowers@famu.edu. And just feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. We can schedule an appointment. We can get you in the office and walk you through the application process. We can help you gather the information you need to support the application and answer any questions that may come up while you're completing the application. So we're here to help as in any way possible. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and open the floor for questions.
I have a question that was actually posed to me prior to this, Keith. So if you're a nonprofit and you're using collateral, it would be things that are owned by the nonprofit.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is right.
But that's nice to know that it's only up to the 25. So if they were under that threshold, they wouldn't need that.
Yes. Yeah. And again, it could be SBA. What they'll do is they'll file a like a blanket lien on your furniture, fixtures, and equipment. It is really just to cover themselves in case you default.
Right.
But it is a pretty straightforward process. It's not like you have to give them serial numbers and all this stuff. It's just a blanket lien that they'll file with the state of Florida.
Right. Okay, that's good to know. And I did post the link to that map. I apologize. The first time I posted it, I guess they've changed the link since I originally did our COCA classified. But so there is that. And I did notice when I just looked at it myself that there are some areas around us and yes, part of Tallahassee that are covered under that. So that's
definitely there are a number of areas in Tallahassee that are covered under the targeted area.
Right. Let me see if we have any more.
Keith, this is Kathleen. So we're still collecting any questions that we might have in the chat, just encouraging people to to go ahead and post. I'm wondering in this process, especially, we've been working with a lot of folks in grant applications and these applications. Is there, in order to be like document ready for these applications, because the applications can be really intimidating sometimes or daunting. I mean, we know that, you'll help or we can help and so on. But in order for our folks to be ready, do you have any suggestions or any advice on how to be like more document ready when in order to make some of these deadlines?
Yeah, I would say SBA has put together a checklist. So before you start the application, there's a checklist, and I would recommend that you go pull up that checklist. It's a PDF that you can download, and just walk through those items that will be required. And so you can spend the time gathering that information. And then I would say, but the most important is, having those numbers, because that's what SBA is really looking at, when your 2019 and your 2020 financial information. But for the supporting documents, they're all covered in the checklist.
And I did post the link to that checklist.
Oh, great.
Too.
Excellent.
And can you just confirm quickly, because are you Thomas Bowers at FAMU, or is it?
You know what? It's funny. I'm both.
Oh, okay, good.
So, yeah, everything comes to me.
Okay,
FAMU
good.
wouldn't let me change. My first name is Thomas, and my middle name is Keith. And FAMU wanted me to have my first name there, but they didn't do anything to change it. So, all of it comes to me.
Good. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
It looks like we don't have any more questions. If anyone has any questions afterwards, we've put Keith's email in the chat. So feel free to reach out to him directly. Any of you that did apply, if there's anyone here that applied for SBOG, our executive director, Kathleen Spihar, has been working on folks that are waiting to hear about their supplemental awards. So I'll have Kathleen drop her email address too in the chat for you. If you have any questions about that, she can present those. I think she's been working with Arts Action Fund, Nina at Arts Action Fund, to kind of communicate with the SBA on behalf of some of those folks, because that's been a little bit tricky on the SBOG. Yeah. And thank you for letting us know too about that. So the magic date is December 10th for if you're interested in that targeted advance.
Right.
Okay, awesome. And I will update our classified as well. And I just really appreciate you so much, Keith, for taking time today to be with us. I know this was kind of short notice, but when I actually just read an article in the newspaper about that it was going out, and I guess I'd been living under a rock because I didn't know specifically about this part. There's so many things though, there is a lot of things.
That's true.
And for those of you who, if you're not aware, COCA, we do have some pretty robust resources on the Tallahassee Arts website. We have two newsletters that come out every week. There's a Monday newsletter that's event-based, a Thursday newsletter that is based with classifieds. And so within that, we share information about funding resources that are available and just professional opportunities, workshops like these. So if you're interested in that, I would suggest that you check out the TallahasseeArts.org website.
I put the links to the sign up in the chat, as well as the link to classifieds.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And it is pretty, I'm new to COCA as of May, and I'm just so impressed at, all the things that Erica is able to do with our website and our resources, because I've learned so much just being here. So Keith, again, thank you. Thank you, Kathleen and Erica. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. We will make this recording available. We'll update it in the Facebook post. We'll also update it on our classified that we have on Tallahassee Arts. And happy Thanksgiving. I'm grateful for all of you. So have a good holiday. And if you're going to apply for the advance, make sure that you meet that December 10th deadline. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.